So we're going to bring in Joshua Kahn Russell, because I think this is a really interesting moment. Josh is working on a project which is helping organize people to basically stop the election from being stolen. Josh, thank you so much for joining the show.
So glad to be here.
Tell us what you're working on right now.
So right now I'm sprinting working with a project called Choose Democracy. And I mean, it's great that right now we're celebrating the victory in Bolivia and that coups are on the mind of the U.S. left, because we need to turn our attention towards the potential of a stolen election here. And so what Choose Democracy is trying to do is prepare people both psychologically and logistically to resist a power grab if Trump tries to steal the election. And we are using the language of coups as well, if it comes to that, which we can talk more about in a little bit. But really trying to, we formed just in August. We're a pretty ragtag group of grassroots direct action trainers that come out of a variety of social movements. We come out of the labor movement, out of the climate justice movement, racial and economic justice work. A number of us have had experiences supporting people in other countries resisting coups, like in Thailand in 1992, for example, and folks who've really studied the dynamics of coups and think that we need to build that as a framework and strategy for anticipating a lot of election chaos to come. And so my background is as a grassroots organizer and movement facilitator and trainer, mostly around climate work, but also supporting movements around the world. So trying to bring in those lessons for the U.S. left in this moment.
The coup wasn't stopped in Bolivia, but it was reversed. So
the coup government tried to steal the election a number of times. But like the main tactic they used was sort of hyping up fear of coronavirus to say, oh, how can we possibly have an election if there's like coronavirus going on? Deliberately didn't do anything to tackle the virus. You know, obviously bodies in the streets, people get more and more scared. And that was like a tactic they used to try and push elections away indefinitely. So I think people got to be, wary of that. And obviously coronavirus is a very serious issue. It's a very serious illness. Have to take care of yourself. But it's not a reason to suspend all public life. It's not a reason to suspend, democracy in a country. Keeping people locked at home, just sort of trembling with fear, is not a good thing for people who want to, have free and fair elections.
One through line, Ollie, I'm curious if there's lessons from the ways that in Bolivia they tried to discredit the election to give the predicate for overturning.
Well, no, I mean, what they did was scare tactics. They said, oh, well, the mass and their terrorists, are going to plunge the country into conflict if we have elections. If they lose the elections, there's going to be a huge conflict, trying to sort of build public fear about that. Essentially making people fear the very idea of elections, like everything will go wrong. Everyone will get coronavirus, like there'll be massive social conflicts afterwards. So, that was just fear.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any takeaways from this that you think apply to what is happening here?
Well, I think in early August, as we were mentioning, there was a massive general strike, protest movements to demand elections, which was one. But there was some sort of more radical elements of that movement that were saying, oh, we can just overthrow the government. And actually the mass and Evo Morales personally intervened to say, no, we can win peacefully, we can win through the vote, and we have to try everything we can to do that. Obviously if there's reach a point where there's no peaceful path to democracy, then obviously we'll have to take more radical measures. But while the option is still there, we should take it. But without the movement, there wouldn't have been elections. So the mass as a party was founded on the principle of combining social struggle with electoral struggle, with electoral participation. And they've always said that one without the other is the path to defeat. If you're just a party that focuses on electoralism without building any kind of social organization in the ground, social movements, then, well, you're a party that could disappear if you persecute a few of your leaders. A party that could disappear once you become a bit unpopular in a few years' time. But likewise, if you're a party that just focuses on sort of social struggle without electoral participation, then you may go the way of some of the guerrilla movements, maybe in Latin America, that have been locked into sort of decades-long civil wars. So the mass has always been about marrying the two: social struggle, electoral struggle. One without the other, you'll lose.